time to put those things back on. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's sitting there, like...
Just to clear your throat.
Shut the fuck up!
Starting to sound like they can't.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're minor.
Yeah.
Al's asleep on the trampoline.
That is so mean and so. Yo, that came out.
Oh my god. Hold on a really long note in this one. Shit.
Alright, you ready?
Yep. Destination final sunrise.
There's something good in there. Hold on, let me listen.
Destination final sunrise.
Final was really good.
Final?
Is that what you say?
Yeah. Destination final sunrise. Yeah, final was good.
You
Everything
think
else
you can double track that?
What's up?
You think you can double track that? The way you're singing is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's
What's-
fine.
what
I'll
is he- what's
try.
the
We'll
line?
reference it.
Final. Yo, what did you say though the whole line?
Destination Final Sunrise.
Oh, see this?
That's how I always sing it.
That's
so.
what I was fucking.
Alright, that's cool. It just sounded crazy.
That's so hard to understand that line because final sun.
Yeah, he does.
Sounds like when I used to hear that line, I used to think thought I knew someone. That's what I thought he's saying.
Alright, we're gonna keep the final on that one.
Destination. La 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 la. What you like, ma? Give me some, ma. What you like? Okay. It's so hot.
It's warm.
Dest. Dest. Destination. Final sunrise.
Yep, that sunrise was definitely good. Hold on, listen to the rest of it.
The sunrise.
Destination final sunrise. That's a really good sunrise.
Yeah.
Destination,
That's a really
like the
good
enunciation
sunrise.
or the rhythm.
The pitch was off a little bit too in that first one. Alright. Yeah, try it again.
The man, Mike.
Alright, here we go.
Destination final.
Try it again.
What was that?
Oh, Jesus.
Here you go.
Hey, when your hair grows up, does it make your hair like your forehead start?
Destination final.
I think
The grease from the
Destination might have been good.
hair.
Mm-hmm.
Destination final.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which one? What are you looking for? Destination.
Destination final.
Play one more time.
Destination final.
That was good.
Tank,
I
you're
think I
cooking.
hear a little thing.
So we gotta go to Come Drown.
Never mind.
He's really cooking along today, huh?
Oh, he's been warming up.
You're kicking some ass, Tank.
Thank you. So are we doing Come Drown next?
Just to come.
Just come, dude.
Gotta tackle that cum.
Yeah, tackle the cum. Do it.
Yep. Open your mouth wide, dude.
Alright.
Come.
Come!
Wait.
I'm saving.
Come Drown. We gotta. Shit! La da da. La da. Come Drown.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Come Drown.
Close, man.
Yeah, I'll get it. Come Drown.
Maybe, hold on.
Here's a freak.
That makes the intro sound.
Can we put a sample of Teddy just going?
You taping that?
Yeah.
Waiting outside in my father's grave.
O'Brien, and I play bass.
Favorite song on the album and why?
My favorite song on the album is probably Contact and Hail the Size of Grapes, which kind of go together. I don't know, we messed around with those a lot in the studio. They were older songs that we had written early on when we were writing the CD, and they kind of came a long way to the finished product, so I'm happy with those the most.
Cool. What musician would you say is most responsible for influencing you at what you do in the band?
I'd probably say it's a tie between Matt Freeman from Rancid and Tim Comerford from Rage Against the Machine.
What made you go with Bridge 9 for this release?
I don't know, we did have a couple other offers around the time that we were looking for a new record label, and they seemed the best. They always get a great reputation, and they're local, they're in Boston, so that was cool for us especially.
What was it like recording with Chris Curran, and how did you meet him?
We met Chris through some other local bands we were friends with, like A Loss for Words and Therefore I Am. He had been doing recordings in his house for a long time, and we kind of got hooked up with him, and he really liked what we were doing, and we liked working with him, so it kind of just worked out. Recording was fun. It was we got to take our time because there wasn't a lot of pressure, and we were at his house, and we got to relax and pretty much experiment with whatever we wanted, so it was pretty fun.
Do you think the member changes in the band have affected the sound from Energy's first EP to this album? And if so, how do you think your fans will respond to that?
Yeah, I think the member changes have affected the sound. It's kind of, at the same time, I think it's kind of a natural progression that we would have liked to do anyway. But I don't know. I think where we're at right now is perfect. And yeah, what was the second part of that?
How do you think the fans will respond?
I think the root of it is the same. We're a hardcore band, we're a punk band, but we're just doing as much as we can to our music and to enjoy it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. All right. I don't know if I think this is mainly a question for Joe, but it could apply to anybody. What kind of direction are you going for on this record? I don't even really know what I mean by that question.
For this record?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the direction we went in on this was pretty much take what we already knew and just expand on it. Layered guitars, layered vocals. We spent a lot of time getting the drums just right, getting the bass and bass tone just right, and I don't know. I think with the budget that we had to do this, we had the freedom to really expand on our original sound, and I think that's what we did.
What was the hardest part of the recording process for you? I could have asked you a bunch of these, now that I'm thinking of this, because I'm looking at other people's questions.
I can go back.
And I'm realizing, just hop back in for a minute after he's done. But what was the hardest part of the recording process for you?
Vocals. Despite the fact that I didn't do any vocals, sitting through vocals day after day was probably the most excruciating thing. The bass, I play bass, so naturally I can just get my thing done and move on, but sitting through other people's tracking was kind of excruciating.
Is there anything else you want anybody to know about Invasions of the Mind, about your bass playing on the album, any specific detail behind the scenes type of thing?
I don't know, like really technical stuff? Or?
Just anything, like I used this amp for this, I did, really just
okay.
any detail that you would like everybody to know.
Yeah. On the record I used 3 different basses. I used 2 jazz basses with that were at different tunings, and a Fender Precision, which I use for like fingerstyle stuff on some of our softer parts or slower songs. I use a Mesa 400 Plus bass amp, and for some of my like overdriven parts, I used Joe's Marshall JCM 800 through the bass cab, and that's how we got kind of like the
Do the guitar
like
cab.
no through the bass cab. That's how we kind of got the like Motorhead, Rage Against the Machine type of distortion on the bass.
Alright, anything else you want to add?
No.
Alright, I'll just ask it again. What kind of bands made you want to start a band, and maybe add why you wanted to start a band? I keep thinking of things after people are done.
I don't know. The kind of bands that made me want to start a band were pretty much bands like us now that they're just regular guys that can, they get in a van and they tour across the country and they have a good time doing it, I guess. That seemed cool to me when I was in school, and I don't know. I guess it was kind of a distraction for me, and I focused all my attention towards playing music and being with my friends, and that's pretty much what we're doing now. So that's it, I guess.
I'm Dan. I play guitar.
Your favorite song on the album and why?
I'd have to say it's a toss-up between 400 and probably, 400. Just because it's lyrically, I think, the one that hits the hardest, and just it's got a great tempo and
What musician would you say is most responsible for influencing you in what you do in the band?
I'd have to say toss up between a couple people, probably Purcell the most, and Lisa Today and Judge, and then probably Kevin Seconds and Brian Baker.
Alright. What made you go with Bridge 9 for this release?
I was really excited to go with Bridge 9 for this release because they've really put out so many of my favorite albums in the last 10 years. So it was a pleasure to be working with them.
What was it like recording with Chris Curran, and how did you meet him?
Chris Curran was a blast to record with. We first met him probably over a year ago when we first started demoing tracks for the CD, and so it's been great to work with him since day one when he first demoed out with Hail the Size of Grapes and Hunter Red with us, and it's an awesome experience hanging out on the lake and him just in general as a person. It's great working with Chris.
What made you want to join Energy?
Joining Energy was great because ever since the band started, we were all kind of friends before. Just all the members of the band each knew each other from different bands and from hanging out. And it sounds kind of corny, but I was a fan of the band before I joined, so it was awesome.
What kind of bands made you want to start a band? And what made you want to be in a band?
Ever since I picked up a bass in 8th grade, I knew that I wanted to play music and be in bands. So ever since then, I've been playing in bands and working hard over the last 7 or 8 years or so. And I don't know, the bands that get me that really inspire me are probably 7 Seconds, the Get Up Kids, Youth of Today, Saves the Day. Anything else?
Let me think. Do you think the member changes in the band has affected the sound from the first EP to this album? If so, how do you think the fans will react?
Oh, I think the member changes have drastically influenced the songs, the general sound of the band, because it's taken so many different influences from everyone else's point of views, everyone else's backgrounds, Justin's taste and Joe's taste are a lot different than obviously previous members who were behind writing some of it. So it's kind of a whole new outlook, and it's like a kind of a new direction for the band, but it stayed within the same roots. But so it's a new outlook, and I'm very into the sound. I liked it before. I like it even better now.
Brings me to the next question. What kind of direction are you going for on this record?
Very emotional, intense punk, driving rock. I mean, obviously it's got a lot of different feels going on to it, but I mean it's rooted in punk, but it takes a lot of influence from other genres of music. But it's kind of what's coming from.
Is there anything you want to add about the recording process that you feel people should know about? Like any just your opinions on things, anything? Just whether or not, like, just you thought it was cool, like what amps someone used or anything like that.
I think people should know that like we worked really, really hard from start to finish, putting this record together, recording this record, and getting it exactly the way we wanted it. We started writing it, probably took us from start to finish a year and a quarter, a year and a half or so, from demoing the first songs that we wrote when Joe and I joined the band, and till getting the CD together. And we spent a couple days just trying out different amps and getting the perfect guitar sounds and bass sounds, and we used all sorts of different things, like used old Marshall JMPs, JCM 800s, orange amps, different cabs. We spent a lot of time just changing over drum snares and making sure we get the right sound for the right song, and taking all things into consideration and taking time on transitions and everything. It meant a lot to us that as a complete package it has the sound that we were looking for.
Cool. What do you think the most challenging part of making this record was?
I'd say the most challenging part probably was trying to, keep focused and keep writing. We went through some member changes. We went through 2 drummers within writing the CD, and so I mean we had to learn and then relearn, and then with each new drummer kind of had like a little bit new take on it. So I mean we've developed and we've rewrote, and really spent a long time on the CD. So it's been a difficult process. It's just tough staying on focus and just getting it finished up.
I'm Joe, and I play guitar.
What's your favorite song on the album and why?
I like Satellite and the Hit the most because it's different, and I feel weird saying that I wrote the majority of that on my own. Besides, musically, I did.
Musically, you wrote the whole thing.
I wrote the whole thing musically, yeah, let's say that. And,
just take credit for what you did. It's
okay, yeah, I have nothing to be ashamed of. We want to just do that one again? No, let's not do that again. That's fine. We can leave this. It's very natural now. We've got a good air in the room. Yeah, I'd say Satellite and the Hit is my favorite because I wrote all the music for it, and I like it because it's a little different than everything else on the CD.
What musician would you say is most responsible for influencing you at what you do in the band?
I don't feel like there's anything too directly on the CD, but I'd have to say a lot of Billy Corgan, a lot of Weezer. You wouldn't think it, but there is, and you can't hide AFI, Jade influence in there, but it's there.
What made you go with Bridge 9 for this release?
Because everyone else wanted to, too. Because they offered us. You don't even use my question for that.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. What was it like recording with Chris Curran, and how did you meet him?
We met Chris when I went to go do gang vocals for our friend Josh's old band, Listen Up, and Chris was really nice right off the bat, and we hit it off with him. So when it came time to record our demos for our first demos for the CD, we went to him, and things went really, really good. There was a lot of good chemistry between us, and recording the CD with him was really awesome. It was cool living with him because he lives in a great location, and me and him click very, very well musically, and it's really cool to get to hang out with him every day and record music with him every day.
How was the writing process for you personally? And explain the writing process for Energy. Who writes what? How do you approach it, etc.?
Not fun. Writing, not very fun for me writing a lot of the songs, but in the end, I hate the process, but I love the product. So it's cool. It's cool having that, but I had a lot of trouble finishing the CD. We went through, I think, a half-year period of no songs. We were up to like 7 songs for the CD, and then everything just halted for like a half a year. And as time went on, the writer's block kind of went away, and we got stuff done. I do a lot, the majority, I guess you could even say, of the music, and I don't know. That's good.
Just keep going.
What else? I forget the...
Explain the writing process for Energy. Who writes what?
A lot of the times, we'll... You could just close the door. You just stop. Wouldn't be that hard.
Just stop.
Want me to just shoot that whole thing again?
Sure.
Okay. Just
You can even edit some of the good stuff from the first one.
I'm gonna forget. Because now I really feel like I'm acting. I have to do it again.
How was the writing process for you personally? And explain the writing process for Energy. Who writes what? How do you approach it, etc.?
Writing process is usually, the majority of the time, it's me working alone, working on stuff, and then we'll bring it to practice, and we'll all kind of hammer out the song, fine-tune it and everything. Everyone adds a little bit of their own thing to it, and then that's how we'll put a song together. And the writing process for the CD was really not very fun at all. There was like a 6-month period where no songs were written at all, and I had severe writer's block. I like my first one better for this ending part of that one.
Well, we can just
We'll edit that together.
edit the beginning of that and
Yeah.
then the end of the... whatever. What kind of direction are you going for on this record?
Initially, when I had first joined, I kind of was going by a template that Tank had kind of given me. And as time went on, I kind of figured out what I wanted to do with a band that started out as just a fast melodic band, and I kind of really got to explore what I wanted to do with it. Was that the question?
What kind of direction are you going for on this record?
I didn't really answer it. That's a good answer.
If you want to say anything else, go ahead.
Should I say it right now? I should say it right now. I probably should say it right now. I wanted to have a CD that was really melodic and had all the things that I feel like a lot of bands I really like kind of lacked in. And I wanted to have lots of guitars, and I wanted to have some stuff that wouldn't really fit what Energy used to be before I joined, and kind of expand that whole sound that we had, even with the first 2 demos we did with me, Hell Besides Grapes and Hunter Red, like, expand upon that.
Okay. What kind of bands made you want to start a band, and what made you want to start a band?
I wanted to start a band because I may have to even say the first time I heard Art of Drowning was one of the first reasons I wanted to start a band. That and maybe Bad Religion, All Ages. Oh God, I forgot the question. That sucks.
What kind of bands made you want to start a band, and why did you want to start a band?
I wanted to start a band because I feel like an asshole for not really knowing this. I don't really know why I wanted to start a band. I wanted to start a band because I remember being very, very excited about music when I was in like 8th grade, and I'd love to be a band that can give someone that kind of excitement.
What made you want to join Energy, and how did you join Energy? Explain.
Tank begged for a long time, and I wanted to. I filled in for a long time, and I actually joined for like a few days, but then quit. But I had been doing another band at the time, and I was really into doing that, and I was kind of scared to just make the leap and quit that and screw over 4 other people just to make another band work. But ultimately, it turned out to be something I really wanted to do, and Tank finally stopped IMing me when I joined, so it was good.
Let me think here. Okay. Do you think the member changes in the band have affected the sound from the first EP to this album? And if so, how do you think the fans will react?
Definitely changed a lot, because there's a completely different person writing the music now, and sorry, I forget the question.
It's, do you think the member changes in the band have affected the sound from the first EP to this album, and how do you think the fans will respond to this?
Yeah, there's definitely a huge difference in how things sound. From just the songs are a bit more in depth, and the playing on it's a bit. I'd say a lot of the parts are a bit more complex, and I think as a whole it's just way more melodic. There's tons of stuff going on, but it doesn't really come across as being really too busy or anything either. I'm pessimistic, and I think everyone will hate what I do, but I think there will be some people out there that will really like what we're doing.
What was the hardest part of the recording process for you?
Is 2 that were really hard. I had a really hard time recording the song The Silence because I was getting sick that day, and we couldn't get the right amp sounds for it. We tried 3 different amps before we just settled on using the same amp we've been using the whole time, which was a JCM 800. And I'd say that was really difficult. You know, the overall easy song to do, but just very, I don't know, that day just wasn't working. And I'd say recording the acoustic stuff for Revelations was really tough, because the only acoustic we had with us was a one with really high action. And also I'd say the hardest part, not necessarily recording, was a lot of the mixing. Was we had only 5 days to mix before the first master, and we ended up throwing out that master. What was the last question?
It was about mixing.
Mixing. The mixing of the CD got kind of turned into a little bit of a clusterfuck with. Can I say fuck? I shouldn't say fuck.
This isn't going to go on TV.
Okay. Alright. Alright. The mixing of the CD kind of got turned into a little bit of a clusterfuck with, we had, the first time, right after we recorded, we had 4 days until mastering, so things got rushed, and we actually have a master that we threw out, and we got it remixed, which also, in the end, got rushed too, so ultimately, things aren't 100% as how I'd like them to be. I think it could be a whole lot more, and someday if enough generated interest was brought onto the CD, I'd love to have it professionally remixed too. And but I feel, though sometimes like sonically the CD isn't everything I want it to be. The songs are all there, and it's awesome to have it like that.
I don't know if I asked this in another form, maybe, but
It doesn't even matter.
what was the most challenging part of making this record?
I'd say the most challenging part about making the CD for me was writing it. I had the hardest time ever making these songs.
Alright, what was the funnest or most fun part about recording this album?
The funnest part about recording the CD probably... recording the CD was the funnest thing. Chris lives on a lake, and it's awesome. Sometimes we got to bathe in the lake. We had a lot of fun. It's a real relaxing environment, even when recording, and it was cool. Obviously, being with Chris. Chris pushes me to do new stuff on guitar that I didn't do, or divide two parts of one part that was too busy, divide it and make it a rhythm and a lead at the same time. It was really, recording the CD with him was probably the coolest part about doing the CD.
Cool. Like Grandini, what was it like recording? What was it like having him help produce the album and having his input? And how did you meet Mike Grandini? Just Mike Grandini.
Okay. I first met Mike when I used to make fun of his first band, and then it turned out that he was a really, really, really good musician, probably the best I'll ever meet, whether it comes to music, just the songwriting aspect of it, or the recording aspect, which I think he's even better at than anyone I've ever met, really. I was actually very terrified. I'd been friends with him for a long time, but I never really played music with him or done any music with him because I was pretty terrified of him. So it was cool to have him on board with the CD because I'm not terrified of him anymore when it comes to music, and he has some really awesome ideas. And he's very, very helpful when it comes to just harmonies with guitars, or obviously harmonies with vocals, and he's a musical genius. He's awesome.
Is there anything else that you want people to know about your guitar work on the album? Anything behind the scenes, just like how long you spent on a specific lead, really just anything that you feel from your end needs to be conveyed, like through this DVD.
I have to say, I hope when people hear the CD, they are hearing more of the songs and not the production. Well, not as much the production, but as the mixing. I hope they're hearing past the mix, hearing past the master, and actually hearing the songs for what they are, and not just how they sound on recording. That's pretty much it, I think.
Is there anything else that you want to add, like just anything at all?
How was I gonna throw that budget thing in the air? What was the question?
Oh well, let's think of a question.
Well,
Let's think of a question.
We'll
right
use
now.
that conveyed thing again. Just
yeah, just fire away.
Working. Wait, hold on. I'll figure this out. I feel like I'm gonna start this off with working with Chris, but I don't feel like I should.
Why?
I don't know. My voice is gonna sound funny on this. Okay. I'm happy with the way it came out ultimately, even if I don't think it's as clear or as powerful as a lot of other releases coming out right now. But I think what we did with with going to Chris and going to a home studio, what we got to make the songs what they are, had we gone to a studio with the same budget, the songs wouldn't be the songs. They'd have that punch, they'd have that clarity, but they just wouldn't be the same songs at all. I did it. Unless you got more.
I'm trying to think of anything else.
Do you want me to talk about like amps and shit? I could, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't really know how I'd pull it out. Like,
Just I don't know. Really, just me and you talk about this record probably more than anything. So, like just some of the. What is going through your mind when you go to write a song? Like, what do you think people should do? Should try and do when they're trying to write a song? I don't know.
people should stop worrying about a part that's going to be a hit live or a part, being a hit live, and more about, for me, since I don't work with lyrics, it's my part, my emotion in the song is the music. And when I write that, that's a piece of how I was feeling now put and it's immortal now in music, and I feel like that's what a lot of people need to do, is put a piece of themselves in it, even if it is just music. It's just as important as an expression as lyrically doing it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's it for now. I mean,
That was good. I did good.
Can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I feel like we should do more, but
yeah,
me and you were probably going to dominate this video. I should say this on camera. Well, it's not really a bad thing. It's just probably will.
well, it's
maybe.
not. I mean, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll stop it for now.
Tank, I sing for the band.
Favorite song on the album and why?
Really, it's kind of a toss-up. I mean, 400 is probably like the most emotional. I don't even want to really cheapen the other songs though by saying it's the most emotional. But it's, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain that, but I think 400, either that or Satellite and the Hit, because I just really like how everything came together, the repeating vocals, like the verse melody in the end, and I don't know, pretty much, I like how Hunter Red came out. I don't know, I can't really pick one in particular, honestly.
What musician would you say is most responsible for influencing you at what you do in the band?
Glenn Danzig, hands down. There's nobody else really that. I mean, other people come close, like Davey Havoc. Let me think. Greg Graffin. I mean, even though it's not very apparent in my style or whatever, but Glenn Danzig is definitely the number one person I look to for influence.
What made you go with Bridge 9 for this release?
Well, ever since I was like a teenager, I've liked the Bridge 9 bands, like No Warning, the Ramallah CD, Carry On, the Lowest of the Low, Terror. I mean, I was a big fan of a lot of their stuff, and Mental, and I love Mental. I don't know, they seem to have a lot happening for them, aside from just my personal, past with it, liking the bands on the label. What was it? What was I just saying?
What made you go with Bridge 9?
No, I know, but I started saying something.
They had a lot going on for them.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They seem to have a lot going on for them. I mean, they pretty much have never heard anybody speak badly about Bridge 9, but I have most other labels, and I'd say it rings true. Also, they just seem to be scooping up a lot of the most popular bands nowadays. So I felt like it's pretty safe bet to sign with them from amongst a lot of the best bands.
How was the writing process for you personally?
Writing process for me, I contributed some music, not a lot, just like some guitar riffs here and there, but I did all the vocals, with the exception of one part, actually. It's I wrote the lyric, "We'll wait in silence," but Chris Conor actually wrote the melody for that, because I was stuck on that. So that's the one thing that I didn't write. But what was the question again? Yeah,
How was the writing process for you personally, and explain the writing process for Energy? Who writes what? How do you approach it?
Joe writes mostly everything. I really see him as the primary songwriter, and he just gives me a template, basically like a, here's a song, an instrumental song, and I take that and I bring it to my apartment, and I just stay up late at night and write melodies and lyrics and stuff. And it's a pain in the ass. When I know I have to write something, it sucks. I mean, just last night I wrote a 10-second song because I knew that it didn't have to be done for anything in particular. So I can get that. It seems to be that me and Joe can get things done when there's no pressure. But as soon as somebody says, "Okay, we're gonna need 11 songs from you by this date," all hell breaks loose. Panic sets in. We can't write. We go 6 months without writing a song. It's a nightmare.
What kind of direction are you going for on this record?
I see this CD, or this record, or album, whatever, as what I initially envisioned the band to be. When I've been wanting to start a band for so long that I pretty much joined a band with, I started the band with just any musicians that were willing to cooperate, really, and I was willing to make some compromises and stuff, and the other members would write some things, and I'd either like it or I wouldn't like it, and we'd just shoot ideas back and forth, basically meeting in a middle ground, because they didn't exactly want to do 100% what I wanted to do, but I also didn't want to do really totally their way either. So I'd say it was like a compromise. Like I was kind of compromising my vision of Invasions of the Mind. But once Joe joined the band, I explained to him exactly what I imagined the band to sound like and what I wanted the next CD to go on, and it was more of a just moody, darker. I guess it's darker. Well, I don't guess. I'm pretty sure it is, right? I think sadness is always, it's just a reoccurring lyrical theme, but I think that's an emotion that a lot of people identify with. It's I'd say it's everybody's sad about something. But yeah, the new CD, I don't know, just trying to break new ground with each release, and hopefully my goal someday is for no song to be really out of the realm of possibility for Energy to write. whether it be an acoustic song, just like a 10-second really fast punk song, like just anything, like so totally synth driven. I don't know. Who knows? Anything, really, as long as we like it. I think that's it. I'll shut up for this question now.
What kind of bands made you want to start a band?
I'd say the Misfits, AFI, Sam Hain Danzig, obviously, Black Flag. I remember when my friend John Kemper gave me Get in the Van. He actually gave me the audio CD, and excuse me. He gave me the audio CD of Get in the Van, and I remember hearing that. I was sitting at the Stoughton skate park, actually, and I remember hearing it, and it's the first 20 minutes of how he joined Black Flag, how he just dropped everything and did the band full time. He totally turned his life upside down, just sublet his apartment, and just told his boss, I'm quitting, just everything, completely changed his life for the band, and then just lived a life of music. That really appealed to me. So, I think that's why.
Do you think the member changes in the band have affected the sound from your first EP to this album? How do you think your fans will respond to that?
Yes, I do think. I think you'd be stupid to say that it hasn't changed the sound. Anytime you eliminate a primary songwriter and replace them with somebody else, it's going to change. It's like, I don't know. It's you just can't. No two people write the same style, even if they were trying. But what was I saying? Shit. Whoa, what was the question again?
Do you think the member changes in the band have affected the sound from your first EP to this album? How do you think your fans will respond to that?
I don't think that Invasions of the Mind is really that far-fetched from what... Like, if I heard Punch the Clock, like, if I was not me and I was into Energy and I heard Punch the Clock, I really wouldn't, and then I heard Invasions of the Mind, I really wouldn't put it past it. It's not like a total shocker. I don't think, I mean, I can totally understand it's your opinion. If you don't like our new stuff, that's fine. It is different. It's definitely different. There's no arguing that, but I think for the most part, it's fast. It's melodic. It's I try to make it hook driven. I don't know. It's got the same, if not, I'd say it has more emotion on my part put in than on the EP. It's more of a personal record, so yeah, I don't know. I think that's it for that one.
What was the hardest part of the recording process for you?
The hardest part of the recording process was definitely recording vocals. I mean, that's all I did. But I seriously, you'll see probably from watching this documentary that I put like at least 90 hours of just every day, 10 to 12 hours a day from the minute I woke up until I was physically exhausted, just attempting vocal takes and having Mike Rondini just constantly, I'd sing something, I'd think it sounded totally fine, and he would just be like, nope, do it again, that was bad, you pronounced this word wrong, you were flat on this, you were sharp on that, my rhythm was off, it was just constant little tiny things that were I was like punching the walls inside the vocal booth by the end. I was bullshit.
What are your thoughts on the use of auto-tune?
The use of auto-tune, I think that Well, first of all, to clear to clear this up, there was no auto-tune used on this album. I really I'm not saying this to like brag or anything, but I put a lot of work into it, and that's why it came out the way it did. It's just a lot of work, and it's Mike Rendini. It's me singing something the way I would have sang something, and having him say, "No, that sounds like shit. Do it again." A million times until it was perfect. And then I double-tracked everything. I, added the harmonies. I double-tracked some of those even, and really, and just did some reverb on it, but I can't stand autotune. Chris Conor actually showed me, he ran Hunter Red actually through an autotune filter, and it sounds so much different than how it sounds on the record. I want to release, or let an auto-tuned version of the album leak, so nobody can say, "Oh, he used auto-tune," because that's how it sounds when you use auto-tune. It was just into the dark, seriously, just jumping notes. It was so bad, and it sounds just like all the shit you hear on the radio. So, that's fuck auto-tune.
Why the title Invasions of the Mind?
Invasions of the Mind, that to me is just a cool way of saying, it's just the songs and their, the songs and what they're about, their subject matter is really just invasions of the mind. It's just thoughts that you don't want in your head that just pop up anyway and haunt you and just make you really depressed and sad. And it's just, I don't know, I thought that was a pretty good title to summarize the feel of all the songs. All the lyrics and everything that is going on in my head, those are invasions of the mind. It's not fun. I don't know what else to say.
Now we the Mike Rendini question. Is Mike Rendini? Question mark?
Oh, Mike Rendini. I met Mike Rendini working at the Sinai Hospital in 2003, I believe. And I just, I like music and stuff, and I can usually talk to people about music as long as it's a band I identify with. That's generally one of the only things I can really talk to new people about. And I forget exactly how we initiated conversation, but I ended up just hanging out with him, starting a band with him, just messing around. I initially wanted to just scream and shout in a band, and me and him were just brainstorming the idea of doing some acoustic Misfits songs, and he had me sing them, and he really insisted that I sounded good. And after showing a lot of people the songs, they told me to keep going with it, so I did. But working with Mike Rendini, he did he produced the CD for free as a favor to me, basically. And I don't know, I can't thank him enough, because I can't imagine what the CD would have sounded like had he not produced the vocals. It would have been a train wreck. I would have never wanted to hear the CD back. I don't know. I really don't know where else to go with this one.
That's a good way to end it anyway. What was the funnest part about recording this album?
Funnest part about recording the album was definitely hanging out at Chris Curran's house. He's got a lake house in Webster, and
what was the last thing you definitely don't remember because you have short-term memory loss.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the outcome of the CD?
Aside from minor things as far as my end goes. Aside from minor like editing things that I wish I could smooth out a little more, but really only surface upon like 150th listen from the artist, like is the artist's point of view, that I don't think anyone else would really notice. I'm perfectly satisfied with how it came out on my end. I mean, I guess you could always use more time, but I mean, and musically, everything is there. It's the thickest, most layered thing I've been involved in, and it's just a really interesting record musically. What Joe did with the album, I don't know. As far as the quality goes and everything, I don't sound like an idiot, but I've grown up listening to bands like Black Flag, The Misfits, The Dead Kennedys, and bands that and Minor Threat, and bands just with the worst recordings, just absolute trash. Like, just sounds like shit. And I just think of it as I always look for like I look for the song and not how it's presented. Really, it's because there's no way you could look at like Damaged and not help but wonder how that would sound had it not been recorded at a real good studio nowadays. But I don't know. As long as the emotion is captured, which I believe in our record it definitely was, and everything's there that was intended to be there, it's fine. I don't even really notice quality differences anyway. I mean, I think the CD sounds fine, but that's just my opinion.
Did I ask you about Chris Curran yet?
I don't think so. No, you didn't.
Okay. I don't even know what to ask about Chris Curran. Hang on. What was it like recording with Chris Curran, and how did you meet him?
I met Chris Curran because my friend Josh, who was in a band called Listen Up, wanted me to come over and do some guest vocals for one of their songs, Easier in Words. And when I went over there, I saw the studio, and Chris was really nice and very talkative. I'm not a very talkative person, and I take a liking to a lot of people who just approach me and are very talkative and dominate the conversation, because then I feel more prone to opening up and feeling relaxed and stuff like that. I can't just walk out. Like, if Chris was the type of person that was just like, oh, hey, okay, time, go, do your take. Nope. That was a bad take. Alright, do it again. Okay, that was fine. And then just left this. I don't think the CD would have been made with him. But, he's just got a great, easy to get along with person. He's just a really easy to get along with person, and, I don't know. He's got the stuff that comes out of his studio, I think sounds great. I don't see anything wrong with it. We also had literally 5 times our money's worth with Chris, which we are also, as well as in debt to Mike Randini, but we are also in debt to not literally in debt, but just figuratively. I mean, I don't know what I'm saying. A debt of gratitude, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't know. But, yeah, we owe a lot to Chris Curran for putting, 5 times what the budget was. Not that it was that low of a budget, it's just that he certainly didn't have to put in that much work, and if we went anywhere else, the CD would not sound nearly as good as it does. So I'm very thankful for how everything worked out. Everything just seemed to fall right into place. There was some mixing issues, but I don't notice that stuff. That's really that's all Joe, and
It wasn't Chris's fault.
well, yeah, and it wasn't Chris's fault either. Chris didn't really mix the record. So that's that.
What was the thing you asked me about? What did you want people to feel or whatever when they listen? I don't even remember it.
I don't know. I asked the question. I asked, what do you? Oh, I know what you're saying. The like general.
Yeah, that's the one.
It was like, what do people? What the fuck was it? It was like, what do you want people to know about the record?
Yeah.
From like whether it be vocally, like what.
Yeah. All right. There you go. From your standpoint, what do you want people to know about the record?
From my standpoint, defending my parts, I don't know. I worked really hard at the vocals, and I don't know. A lot of people hear it and probably think it's auto-tuned because I don't really know why. It's like because it's double tracked, and it's double tracked very spot on, which is, I'm not complimenting myself, I'm complimenting Mike Rondini because he has the ear to know what's on, but it's just double track, so it adds like kind of a weird, I guess, sound, but we wanted to take that approach, like how the Beach Boys did it. Everything's double tracked, and it's supposed to be identical to the original track so that it's just a thicker version of what is already being sung. And what was the question?
I can't remember. You made up the question. I don't even remember it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so didn't use any autotune. Spent a lot of work on it. I mean, granted, you can't really expect people to just, oh, this is so amazing, you know what I mean? Like, you can't really expect people to do that. It's just, no matter what, when there's so many things behind the making of a record that nobody even knows about or thinks about unless they do it. And it's just when you finally get this product that you spent, I mean, we spent like a year writing it, an entire month recording it, and like I spent like almost 100 hours recording the vocal parts, and I was like, really frustrated by the end of that. And then, you show it to somebody and they're like, oh, that's good. It's just like, I don't know. You really wish they'd be like, oh, wow, it sounds like you put a lot of work into it, which we have gotten some of that. It's just, I don't even really know why I'm saying this. I just, kind of just, yeah, maybe we'll edit this out. Who knows?
What is the song Hunter Read about?
Shut up.
Okay. I think that's it. I can't unless you can think of anything.
There was another one. What made you want to start Energy?
Yeah. Okay. There you go. What made you want to start Energy?
Made me want to start Energy was I knew that I wanted to be in a band, and I know there's a lot of fast hardcore I don't want to be too thick on the Boston accent. There's a lot of fast hardcore punk bands that, and most of them just scream and yell, and I thought, wouldn't that be neat if you sang over it? And I'm not, not saying that hasn't been done before, because it clearly has, by, Ignite, AFI, The Misfits, even, somewhat Uniform Choice, 7 Seconds, but, just actual, attempts at, singing and writing hooks, and I like the idea of hardcore and punk being fused with pop melodies, and, just the catchiness of just a really good hook, and I just think it makes a good combination, and, I just wanted to start a band like that, really. And I didn't, nobody else was really doing that. As far as our immediate surroundings went. So I said, what the hell?
When did you start singing?
I don't know really. I didn't like start singing. I started out playing guitar because I immediately assumed, oh, I can't just set out to be a singer. I gotta be like, oh, I play this in order to get in the band someday. So I learned how to play guitar, okay, I guess, and then, but like all through the meantime, listening to the Misfits in my room and singing along is really unknowingly, I guess, taught me a sense of pitch and like an appreciation for a really good melody. That's really it.
I think that's it. That's all I got. That's all I can think of, at least.
Alright. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm just trying to think, but yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Say bye.
See ya.
Eric, do you want to tell us about Dinoland?
Not really.
Give us one last look. In the light. A masterpiece.
What is the hand?
Okay. Just a disclaimer. I'm sorry, I look so bad. I look like shit in this. We had a sweaty practice right before we did all these interviews. I'm sorry. Okay.
No way we're gonna, we're using it. We'll use that.
Don't wanna. I